Hello, hello, how's it going, everyone? So we're gonna be doing a quick video. Hello, everyone. This is the new setup we have here. Ooh, clean up a bit. The microphone name. This. I forget this is called Third Greatest Gamer 00. But what are your opinions on auto combos? Firstly, I'm okay with them in chaotic anime fighters like Fighter Z or BB Tag. But recently, a lot of fighters have been implementing them, and I'm questioning as to why. I'm indifferent to them in Street Fighter 6 and hate them in the new KOF, and I'm hearing they're gonna be in NK12. Also, in KOF, auto combos go into level 3 super, so the whole auto combo can do 40 to 50. Ooh. Okay, so my opinions on auto combos, right? I don't have a problem with them personally. Originally I kind of did, but once I grew to realize that they're kind of bad, I didn't care too much. And this is what I mean, right? So there's two types of auto combos. There's auto combos before like Under Night and say Persona and BB Tag, and then there's after. Beforehand, auto combos really were just a way to completely ignore everything and anything you were just straight up doing. Like they really were just their own thing, right? It's weird because, like, here's an example. We'll talk about Marvel's Capcom 3 in there. The auto combos just kind of did whatever. They didn't really... They were almost not very similar in any shape or form. Same with BlazBlue ones. Like, the auto combos in there were purely just for people who just want to come in and play and not bother with the mechanics. And you couldn't transition from auto combos to the actual game. So it was a huge pain if you were used to auto combos and then you wanted to play the actual game. Whereas now, I feel it's a lot better. Like in Street Fighter 6, I think it'll do perfectly fine. I'll get into why I think it won't be as big a problem. But I don't have a huge problem. I mean, Persona 4 did it the best next to BB Tag. Like, oh, you have auto combos just as an easy substitute. Like, your buttons are still there, right? Your buttons are still the same. Like, I think auto combos can work best when it's already in a pre-existing button scheme. But it's something to the point where you can almost forget it's even there. Under Night's an extremely good example. People forget that game has auto combos on Square. Everything else kind of doesn't really have auto combos. And as you mentioned before, they can do like 50 to 40%. I don't know, the context of KOF I really know too much, but it is also good. Most auto combos have extremely nerfed damage, as they really should, due to the fact that you can just mash square, right? In Under Night, do the exact same combo you can manually do, but it'll do like half the damage it would normally do if you actually did it manually. So if it's in that sense, like as far as damage, it scales it. No real beef. Like auto combo should again, in the case of Under Night, they should exist with the pre-existing button scheme purely if you want to just have an easy option. And then you could still use your other ones and get used to it while you're playing the game. BB Tag being one of the easiest and best fighting games that implements auto combos to the point where it's part of the system. It really is absolutely insane. And in that game has more of a problem with that the characters don't really play like from their original games, but that's an entirely different story. But main thing is like the biggest thing with auto combos is like it's the dumbing down. Like if it dumbs down the entirety of the game, then that's a problem. Like you can't have your whole thing revolved around the auto combos. BB Tag did it probably the best. It built its system around the auto combos, but without sacrificing death. But if we're being honest, we're not gonna get another BB Tag. Let's be real. And I don't mean in the same like BB Tag itself, but like a game like BB Tag. But if we're noticing a trend with auto combos in fighting games, to me it's not even as much don't focus on auto combos, focus on ways to teach the players to play the fighting game or have things for them to do. Because here's the thing, right? Developers want to dumb down stuff, or not even dumb down, but make it more accessible. The real word is accessible, right? And it's two things with that. One is that that's not the problem. The problem why nooblets don't really play your fighting games much is content. What do they have to do? Making the game easier or combos is not going to keep them around for longer, honestly, really. I personally think that making easier combos is only going to get people who are interested. Like, here, great example, like Street Fighter 5. I got into Street Fighter 5 because I heard that it had easier combos than Street Fighter 4. I found Street Fighter 4 combos extremely daunting. But I am someone who already plays fighting games. Someone who's an average player, but like, you'll only get one of two small people. And this is a niche within the casual audience. People who are, again, in my position where they do semi-play and they're like, oh, they never got into it because it's too hard. Or people who extremely complained. Like, they already liked the game beforehand, but they thought it was annoying. Like, just look at the AT&T Cup with all the nooblets who were playing, right? And one of them was extremely annoyed with how difficult it was. That's still a very small market. You have to get people to like your game first before you can focus on it. The whole accessibility thing. But regardless, I personally think having games have more accessibility options is much better. It'll get... Because you want to have as wide a audience as possible, right? And people are just too accustomed to what, you know, much easier games. The real problem is that other games are just way easier than fighting games. That's just the honest truth. They're just way... You can add auto combos and everything, man. Like, BB Tag's still harder than, like, 90% of the games that come out these days, which is insane. But yeah, no, they need to focus more on, like, actual content than accessibility. That's my personal opinion. But I'm open to it. And the thing is, Guilty Gear Strive is another great example. That game, I got into it because it also got dumbed down. Like, the reality is I am more okay with a lot of these games being open. Like, even if it's at the risk of the game losing its depth, you are getting more people into fighting games, and that's always a good thing. Because right now, some fighting games, especially outside of Street Fighter and Tekken, they're struggling, like, comparatively. Like, and people want to, again, look at Strive. Guilty Gear was barely surviving on Rev 2. Words from a developer and a pro player. Strive came out. Look at how much better that shit did. Though part of it was due to marketing and the modern. I feel also the modern comment of how the internet is, and anything that's, if you have like a pretty decent, you know, YouTuber audience or like a scene / community, your game will grow a lot better than it has been in the, you know, probably the last 10-20 years ago, right? But even then, like, again, something like accessibility, like, now you have this audience and maybe say, oh, I don't know, it looks cool, it might be hard. Oh, it's easier to do it. Boom, people are gonna get into it now, right? And again, the people who sometimes like, oh, I never got into it, you got the people who are like, again, me, I make content, right? I imagine if Street Fighter 5 didn't get dumbed down, then in 6, I'm like, you know, I never cared about 5, but now I want to try 6 because it's dumbed down. Then my audience is going to want to try it out too. So accessibility is much more, in my opinion, a strength than anything. Like, it varies case by case and game to game, but Guilty Gear is the best example why, yeah, it's dumbed down, but in honesty, it's for the better. Because if Guilty Gear did not dumb itself down, no one would give a shit. Like, Guilty Gear Strive would be the last Guilty Gear ever. That's it. You would never see it again in a million years. So all the people who complain about Strive, like, yeah, does it suck? Sure. Yeah, you can't do this. But at the end of the day, you should honestly be happy as a Guilty Gear fan. You don't have to like the game. You don't have to be happy. But you should be happy as a fan that more people know about your series. Because then that introduces them to the other games. And which is why I also don't have a problem, because at the end of the day, the older fighting games still exist. No one's taking those away. So for me, like, I have a bigger problem with people who, like, just... Like, I get it for your gameplay and everything if you don't like it, but if you just hate it, that's a different thing. I'm not telling you have to like auto combos and simplistic stuff in your fighting games, but you should not hate it. You should always welcome new people coming into the community. But also, but at the same time, I'm saying, hey, there should be some level of gatekeeping, alright? Because some of these squads be saying the stupidest shit. But that's my thoughts on the whole auto combos in fighting games. I think they're perfectly fine. I think Street Fighter 6 might set the standard next to BB Tag. Like, either you gotta do it how BB Tag does it, have your system revolve around the auto combos, or have the auto combos like an Under Night, like an in between, where you can still use the other mechanics and stuff, but make it that auto combos are extremely scaled. Or the third option, have Street Fighter, where it's an entirely different thing that's selectable, set it as modern, so it doesn't insult anyone, and make it also very limiting in the neutral with buttons. And you just completely get rid of, like, I feel like my biggest problem is, like, they should still keep notations or motions. I think Granblue oddly did this pretty good. I guess there's 4 ways of doing it, right? There's the Granblue way, Under Night, BB Tag, and the Street Fighter way. I think it all depends on how the developer wants to engage and what's the best way for them to learn that fighting game. And yeah, I mean, Street Fighter 6, I mean, they said they wanted to make it viable, but I don't think it will be. You have no buttons. But that's my opinions on auto combos. I know it's a bit long-winded, you have to forgive me, because it is quite a big subject, but in short, I don't have a problem with it. I more than welcome it. I think more people being able to easily be less frustrated. For me, it's more just frustration. It's the motions that can be a bit tough. But I think they should be able to access it, and once a person becomes comfortable, and hopefully that system beforehand makes them at least familiar with 3 to 4 buttons, and then from there, they're like, oh, I want to do the combo I always do from the auto combos, and then they can even discover some new combos from that sense, from now using the new control scheme that they're not used to. And yeah, I mean, that's just me, but I don't want to make this video too long. Thanks, you guys. And as you guys have seen, I've been very busy. Sorry if I can't get videos out all the time. This took me literally all day to organize. There's a bunch of crap moving the bed. But that'll be it for this video.